we covered login and registration. The day before we covered validations and we were making new movies. So what I thought we would do is let's connect these two things. We did them both in the same project. So now let's just link them up so that a movie actually belongs to a user. All right. So let me get my project going here. I think I've got it open. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. So I always need to activate my environment, right? I'll make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Close this out here. So we're starting from scratch here. So let me just activate my environment so that we can actually run the server. So source, up a couple levels, inside my environments, Django, then activate. Okay, we're good to go. Now let's run the server. Python manage.py run server. Okay, and usually I like to check and just make sure that my server is in fact running. Okay. Hey, we got kicked out already. That means it's working, right? Excellent. All right, cool. So let's take a look inside of our models file and see what we might want to change here. Okay, so right now we've got up here our movie manager and our movie class, and we've got our user manager and our user class. What if I want to set it up so that, again, a user is connected to these movies? All right. What kind of relationship is this? A one-to-many. All right, so which one's the one? A user. And then the many is going to be movie, right? So where am I going to store my foreign key? You sure? Yeah, we're always going to store our foreign key inside the many, which in this case is the movie. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reverse the order in which these are in. I'm just going to take my user class and bring it up here. That's what I'm trying to do, but I can't seem to grab it. Hang on. Okay, so let's just take this whole class and then put it up above here. Okay, and now inside my movie, what I want to do is I want to have that foreign key, right? So let's create a name for what we want to call the owner of the movie. Should we call it owner? Like owner. That makes sense, right? And then what am I going to set that equal to? Nice. Very good. Key. Okay. And then what am I going to pass into? So I'm invoking, well, I'm actually creating a new instance of the foreign key class, right? That's what's happening here. What do I want to pass in there? User. A user. Okay. And then I can specify the related name that I want, right? What would you think that should be? I heard movies over there. That's excellent, right? So that means that each user is going to have this new field added on called movies, which will allow us to see all that user's movies. Cool, so we'll call it movies. And then we're probably going to need this onDelete argument. You guys remember what that does? Cascade. So what that means is that if I delete a user, what should happen to all the movies that were connected to that user? They should also be deleted, right? Okay. All right. Now let's stop the server and let's get into the making of the migrations, right? I'm purposely trying to allow a problem to happen that's been happening with a lot of you guys so that we can kind of work through it, right? So let's say something like this. Python manage.py make migrations. Uh-oh. Does this look familiar to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are trying to add a non-nullable field owner to movie without a default. We can't do that. Okay, the database needs something to populate existing rows. So right now I've got a couple different movies in my database, but it doesn't know, who those movies belong to, right? So we have a couple options. We can provide a one-off default value, and that will be set on all existing rows with a null val. Or we can quit and add a default in models.py. What would you guys prefer? All right, both. All right, so let's try one, and let's see if we can get that working. Please enter the default value now as Python as valid Python. The date, time, okay. So let's say I want all the movies that I have in there to be connected to user number 1. Let's open up our Database Explorer thing. Okay, now over here on the side. Okay, DB SQLite. Let's just take a quick look at our users. Okay, so we've got 2 people in there right now. I'm just going to take ownership of these movies, right? So my ID is 1. So we should be able to provide 1 inside here to say we want all the movies to belong to me. Let's try that. Okay, so now it created the migrations for us, and then let's migrate. So we'll say Python manage.py migrate. Okay, it applied the migrations, and then let's take a quick look at our movie table. Let's go all the way over here. So it did what we expected, right? So it's saying the owner ID for both of those movies is now my ID. Okay.
Well, what if we don't want to do you really need to?
Well, I mean, the whole purpose of the review that we're doing today is to connect these two things. If there is no relationship, yeah, then you wouldn't even have had that foreign key field, right? So the other possibility that I've shown some of you guys is before we do the migration, what if we wanted to just specify here in the owner field that perhaps a movie could not have an owner at all? There's an option that you could put in here, like I could have just gone in here and said null equals true. And what that would have done is it would allow us to create a movie without an owner. Now in this case I don't want to do that, but I'm just saying like that could sometimes get you out of the hole as well. If you're in this situation where you're trying to make migrations and can't do it, this would allow us to create movies with no owners. Right? Yeah.
In the platform, it said after you choose one for the option, you can put the quotation, empty quotation for default value instead of one that you're using.
That's the other possibility. Yep, absolutely. So what if I wanted, by default, the owner to always be 1? In other words, I wanted the owner to be the user who has an ID of 1. This would have worked as well. Now, in this case, we just provided it in the terminal because this is not really going to be needed when we're doing our regular project stuff. Because every time we create a movie, I'm going to associate it with an owner. Okay. But yeah, you could set a default value, and what that does is it allows us to create a new movie and not specify who the owner is. If we don't specify who the owner is, who's the owner going to be? Me, because I have an ID of 1, right? It's going to be me, automatically, because if you specify the default, that's how it'll work. Now, we don't really need to use that in this case. I'm always going to be explicit about establishing who the owner is. Okay. All right, cool. So we've migrated. We're all good to go. I think what we want to do now is we want to, yes, Andrew.
In this case, can we do many to many instead of the foreign keys, but just use everything point with 1 owner?
So you want to have a many to many where a user can have many movies and a movie can have many users?
Yeah, but we only use like the movies linked to the only owners. Plus one-to-many situations.
I don't want to overly complicate it right now. I mean, it's a good request, and it's something that you can work on in the belt reviewer, but I want to make sure that we're all really comfortable with one-to-many. First off, many-to-many is conceptually sort of a little bit more difficult for people to grasp. It's a really good thing to know, but I'm just saying we want to make sure that we got the one-to-many nailed down, right? Okay. All right, so as far as our pages right now, let's go take a look at our urls.py. Just close that out there. So right now we've got some different pages. We have a movies page to add a movie. We also have our index route right there. Okay. I think we'll also create some other routes so that we could potentially delete movies, right? Or what else could we do? We could edit a movie, something like that. We could maybe have a movie detail page where we can just see everything about that movie. All right. So let's just start creating some new routes here. And ultimately, I'll probably comment them out so that they don't break our code. But let's say I wanted to have a details page. How would I specify a movie's ID here? Inside the angle bracket. So int means that this is going to be an integer type, right, of an ID. And then I'm going to say, what do I want this ID to be called? So I'm going to call it movie ID to be really explicit. Okay. And then we'll have a method or a function called movie detail. We'll call it. Okay. Let's create another one where we're going to have like an edit page. So actually, hold on one second. I'm just going to copy this up like this, and then at the end of this, I'm going to put a /edit, and then we'll say movie edit. Okay, and then I'll do another one up here. Let's put delete on there. So if we want to delete a movie, we've got a page to do that as well. Delete movie. And actually, I'll change this to edit movie. There, sounds like a verb, right? Okay, cool. So you've got some different pages. I'm just going to comment these out for now. But let's see if we can build these guys, right? So inside our views.py, let's say I want to create a movie detail page. This is probably going to be the easiest one, so I'm going to start with that. Okay. So let's go def movie detail. Oops. Take in the request. What else am I going to take in for the movie detail? The movie ID. Exactly. Could I just call it ID over here? If I changed it in the urls.py, right? Those two things need to match. So be careful there. All right. Cool. Now what am I going to try to do inside my movie detail function? Right, so before I even render the page, though, what do I need to get a hold of? I need to get the actual movie itself, yeah, that I'm trying to render in my template. So let's go get it. So I'm going to say context equals, and then inside there we'll say the movie is going to be what?
Movie objects.
So movie, oops, dot objects dot get ID equals movie ID. Okay. Does this make sense to everybody here? Pretty good? All right, cool. So now all I need to do is render a template, right? So I could say return render request. Now let's say our template is going to be called movie detail.html, and then I also want to pass the context to that as well, right? So right now I don't yet have this movie detail.html, so we need to build that as well. Okay, so where are my templates? They're up here. Let's just add a new one. movie-detail.html. Okay. Whoops. Didn't mean to click that. Okay, so inside here, let's just do like an H1 tag that'll have the title of the movie. How do I reference that in these double mustache tags? Dot title. Okay. And then I'll just have a couple p tags down here. So we'll say this is the description. Same thing, double mustache tags, movie.description. Okay. And then finally, we also want to have the year that the movie was released, right? So we'll say year, double mustache, year. Okay. What if I wanted to have a link to go edit that movie? Could I do that as well?
Yes.
Yeah, no problem, right? So down here I could just create a link, href, and in that href, what I'm going to say is we'll go /movies, and then I want the ID of the movie, right? How am I going to output that? Double mustache, movie.id, and then I could say edit, like that. So edit movie, we'll say. Okay? So everything's pretty much ready to go. If I come over here to my urls.py, I should be able to uncomment our details page to see that. Okay? And I know I've got a couple movies in there so far, so let's log in. I guess I didn't run my server, huh? Run server. Alright. Let's refresh that. Try it again. Okay. So here we are. So if I want to go /movies/ID, I know that I have a movie of ID 1. Okay. So this is great. We're getting Interstellar up here, the description and the year, and then I've got this little link to edit a movie. All right. Fair enough. Should we add that to our table at the beginning here as well? It'd be kind of nice to be able to click on something over here so that we can get right there, right? So let's go to our index page. Close that out. So down here in the table, I'm going to create another column here. So that we'll just call this actions. And then inside this little actions column, I'm going to put some different things that we can do. So let's say we'll have an href that's going to edit. You guys can put a pipe up in between our different actions if you like. And then the href is going to go to movies / what am I going to have inside here again? So I'm going to do these double mustache tags. I'm going to say movie.id. Okay, and then /edit, right? Then I may also have a add. Yeah, we won't do an add inside this table though, because that means we would have like an add link in every row, which wouldn't make great sense. But what if I want to have like a details link, right? So I can kind of duplicate this up here, take off the edit part, and then we'll just call this details. So let me refresh this real quick. So now we've got this details link, and we can actually click on it, and that should take us over to see the movie's details. All right? That's looking pretty good. Now, what if I wanted to be able to delete a movie? So let's add that functionality in there. So let's just create a new href down here. Actually, I'll duplicate this again. And instead of edit, we'll just change this to delete, right? Now this should be pretty easy to create, right? So in order to make this delete link work, what do I have to do? All I have to do is make sure that I have this URL and then a function that will handle that URL, right? So let's go into our urls.py. We already made this guy here, right? So I just need to write that function to delete a movie. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go back into our views. And def delete movie. Okay, what's the other thing I need to take in? The movie ID. I need to know which movie I'm trying to delete. Okay. All right, so the first step is to actually get that movie, right? So how do I do it? So I could say movie equals movie.objects.get, and then I'm going to say ID equals movie underscore ID. Okay. Now that I have that movie, what can I do to get rid of it? Dot delete, right? I can say movie dot delete. I'm calling this function, and then what do I want to do after that? I don't actually have to explicitly save it once I delete something. This will commit the transaction for me. All right. So I can just redirect at this point, right? So we'll say return redirect back to that dashboard. Okay. All right. Now that this is all written, I'm going to go back to my urls.py and just uncomment that route. Okay, and let's go back to our page here and just refresh it. So now that we've got it, whoa, I have a pipe after my delete. That's just terrible. All right, let's get rid of that. All right, cool. So let's test out this delete function. Do we want to delete John Wick or Interstellar? Interstellar. Man, it's a real toss-up here.
John Wick did nothing bad.
I don't know, man. I've got to go with Christopher Nolan on this one. I mean,
Matthew McConaughey.
yeah.
John Wick's dog too.
I'm so sorry. Maybe we can add him back later. All right. John Wick is, yeah. He's no longer in the building. All right. Whew. Wasn't that delete function though so nice and easy to build? It's so simple, right? We just need the ID, and then we grab the movie that we want to delete, and then we invoke that delete function, and then we redirect. Done. All right, cool. What do you guys want to build next? The edit page? I like your thinking. Yeah, so let's kind of modularize things a little bit more and take out this form here where we can create movies and put it on its own little page. It'll be like a new movies page, all right? That should be pretty easy. So let's just go create in our urls.py. I'm going to put it up here. We'll go path movies new is going to be views.new movie. Okay. Now I don't have that function yet, so let's go and write that, right? So inside my views.py, def new movie, take in the request. Do I want to make authentication required for this page? It's kind of up to you guys. If we do, we can handle it. Do you guys care? Does anybody care? Is it on the test? Okay, that's fine. So if user ID not in session, request.session, what do we want to do? Yeah, let's set up a little error message. So we could say messages dot error, pass in the request, and we could say please log in first. And then let's just return a redirect. Where was our redirect to? It's just / login. Okay, cool. That makes it easy. All right. So if I get past line 100, that means that I did have a user in my session. I'm all right. I'm okay with it now, right? On this page, all we're going to do is really we're going to just render this form. So I'm going to say return render. Got to pass in the request. And then we're going to create a new template to render. So up in here, I'll just call this new movie.html. Create some HTML here. And then let's go grab the new movie form that we had on our index page. So I'll take this. I'm going to grab these messages too, right? Okay, and then inside the new movie page, let's just paste in that form that we had. Okay, views is good. Let's put that in there. New movie.html. Do I need any context for this page, by the way? Only if I wanted to display something about the user. Okay? In this case, I'm just going to say we're not going to put anything about the user. We're just going to show the user that form so they can create a new movie. Yes?
So if you did want to do something with it, you would use their session? Or
So, again, how would we get the user's information? I'm going to go back to the index route so that we can review that real quick. So here when we're doing the index route, first we were checking to make sure that we have a user. Okay? So if user ID is not in request session, that means we have no user and we need to redirect, right? But if we got past here, I could say the user ID was request.session user ID. And then I can use that user ID to go and get that specific user. All right? Cool. All right, so that's what we would do if we were kind of worried about, or not worried, but if we wanted to show something about the user on this page, we would just need to use that context dictionary. All right, so for now we're just going to render this guy, and let's make sure it's set up in our URLs. That's all set up. So let me just go to the new movie page, movies/new. Okay, I've got the page to add a movie. We can add a link to that from the index route if we want. Does this matter to you guys? I'm just going to go movies, /new, add a movie. Okay, and then I'm going to rip out the form that we had there because, wait, isn't our form already gone? What the heck? Oh, there it is. Now it's gone. Good. Okay, cool. So if I want to add a movie now, I'm just going to click the link and it'll take me over to that other page. Okay, good deal. Now I want to make one small change to our add a movie function. Can you guys guess what that might be? We just created a new relationship in our models.py. So whenever I create a new movie, what else do I need to say about that movie?
that belongs to
Yeah, I need to specify who the owner is, right? Because right now all we're doing is we're just giving it some information from the form. That's it. So let's add that little bit in there. So, oops. So inside our views.py, close out this sidebar here. Where's our add movie function? Here it is. So if I get down here, I need to specify the owner, right? Owner. Okay. And what am I going to pass in for the owner? Does anybody know? Yes. I'm going to use the user ID that's in session. So I'm going to use that to actually get a user from my database, essentially. So I can say user.objects.get, and then I'm going to say ID equals what?
Request session user ID.
Request.session user ID. Okay. User ID. Okay. Very good. So that should be working. Let's test this out now. We're at our new movie form. I'll add John Wick back because who was it that wanted John Wick? You, Nick?
I want John.
Oh, Ashton. Ashton. Okay, my bad. All right, John Wick. Description. Whoa. All right, what was the year? 2014 we said for that one? Whoa. Okay. So still adding correctly, and then if we go and check in our database, let's make sure that we have the owner ID the way that we wanted. So if I look at main movie, our owner ID is still number 1, right? Okay. What if on the dashboard I only wanted to show movies that belonged to me, right? That I was the owner of. How could we do that? Anybody know? So right now we're saying, give me all the movies. I want to use filter, right? Okay. So let's call this filter function. And then we'll say where owner equals what? Yeah, so it's actually going to be this right here. It's going to be user.objects.get ID equals user ID. Do I want to type that all out again, though? Like, is this great coding if I go like this?
Set a variable for that?
Yeah, why don't we just set a variable for that so that we're not repeating ourselves, right? So I'll just come up here and I'll say user equals that. Let's just grab it one more time. Why did it paste it there? I want to paste it here. Okay, and then here we'll say owner equals user. And then user equals user. Actually, I decided to change that real quick. What if I just say user in session? Does that work for you guys a little bit better? That way it's very explicit what we're doing. In session. Okay? So let's see if that works. So if I re-render my dashboard, okay, I'm still seeing both movies. Well, that's because I own both of them, right? Let's log somebody else in because I think I put Ashton in my database. So let's just log out. Let's log in a@d.com. Hi, Ashton. So we've got no movies yet for Ashton because he hasn't added any. You want to add one, Ashton?
The first
God dang it, man. No, enough of John Wick. No, I'm kidding. What other movies do you like? You like The Matrix? Man, you're a big Keanu fan. Whoa again. All right. Yeah, just double whoa. All right, when did The Matrix come out? Was that around like 2001? Something like that? 99? All right. Cool. So now we're only seeing your movies here because we used that filter method, right? All right. Very good. So really everything's here mostly. I mean, we can see the details of the movie. We know this works. We also have this edit movie link. That's the only thing that we haven't really covered yet. So let's do the edit page. All right. Okay. Let's go create a new HTML template up here. And I'm just going to call this edit movie.html. Okay. It's good. The form that we're going to put inside there is going to look pretty similar to our add movie form. So I think I'm going to grab some of the HTML from that. So we'll even grab these messages too. Copy. People getting restless in here? Okay. Cool. So let's drop that in there, the same form here. And I'm going to make some little changes to this form. You guys know what I'm going to... I do need to change where this is being routed, right? Because right now it's just going to /movies. So I want to change that to movies / where am I going to get the ID from? No, it's not going to come from the session. It's going to come from the URL, right? Because the URL is going to be something like movies /ID/edit. What about session? Yeah, double mustache, exactly. So let's do movie.id. Now we just have to be aware here that when we render this page, we're going to have to use context to pass in the movie object, right? Otherwise, this is going to be a problem. I don't have a movie yet. Okay. So then we'll go to. I'm going to make it this update. Does anybody know why I didn't make it edit? Because we already have something routing to the edit route, right? I don't want to mix those two things up. So I'm just doing /update. Okay. Then I've got my token. How can I pass in the values that are currently for my movie? Does anybody know? I can add this value attribute. And what can I set that equal to? Yeah, so I can say movie.title, right?
Question. So
Yes.
When I did that, when I put value in whatever inside my input field, it didn't do the classic like when you click it, it deletes and you can start typing. I had to like click it, delete what was in there first, and then start it again. I guess you can just hear it because when I tried to do that, and then I had to like delete it first, and then
Even just in the HTML, you're saying?
yeah, like when in the HTML, like when I opened it, it was like there, and then every time I refreshed it, it was always there, and then I had to delete it, and then go back. But should it be doing that though? Should it be like a default input there? Is that what value?
Well, when we set a value, what that's saying is that when the page first loads, that's what the value that will be inside that input will be.
Okay.
Now we can change it obviously by typing. But we want it to be whatever the current value is. That way the user, it wouldn't really make any sense to give them a blank input for something that already exists in our database, right? Let's show them what the current information for that movie is. Makes the most sense. All right. So let's go do the same thing for the description. Whoa, the description is a text area. Can I put a value inside a text area? No, that's not going to work. I actually have to put it in between the two text area tags. Okay, so I'll say movie.description. Okay, and then down here in the year, I can still use value because we've got an input here. So value, and then double mustache movie.year. All right, so that looks pretty good. So let's work on actually rendering this page. So inside of our views, we'll just create a function called edit movie, def edit movie. I'm going to take in the request and what else? Movie ID, because I need to know what movie I'm editing, right? We'll create our context, and what's that going to look like? Should be movie because, again, our template is now expecting this variable called movie, right? And what am I going to set this equal to? Yeah, how do I get the instance? movie.objects.get ID equals movie ID. Okay. Then all I need to do is render this page that I have, right? Return render request. Page that I have is just edit movie.html. And then let's pass in the context too. Okay. Now where else do we need to finish things off? Yeah, the path. So we have these different things. We've got our URLs that we always need to be modifying. We've got our views.py, which is where we're going to have the function that deals with it, and then the actual template. Okay. So I've got this route right here that I want to use. I'll uncomment that now, and let's go see if we can actually pull this up. So if I click on edit, load again. So this is great because these values are currently in the inputs, right? So all we need to do though is just handle this form submission. So we want to be able to successfully update a movie. Let's go create that function as well. So views.py, let's say def update movie. Okay. I'm going to take in the request, and what else am I going to take in? The movie ID, because I need to know what movie we're updating. Okay. First thing I want to do is actually get that movie. So how do I do it? So we'll say movie.objects.get, and then we'll say where ID equals movie ID. Okay. Now I want to change some different things about it. So I probably want to set its excuse me, geez, its title, its description, and its year to match whatever came through the form, right? Do you have a question, Jess? No? All right, cool. So let's say movie.title equals request.post title. Okay? And I'll just duplicate this out. So instead of title this time, we'll change that to description. And now over here, let's change this to year, right? There was one other thing that I needed to do here, though, right? What if I wanted to validate on my edit page as well? We could probably, for the most part, grab the code that we were using up in the new. So let's go to our add movie function. And let's grab some of this. Okay, I'll go back down to the bottom here. Okay. So what we're doing, again, oops, let me just get rid of that here, is we're still grabbing the movie, but what we're doing is we're saving all the post information to this variable called post. And then I'm going to run my basic validator function against it. So if we had any errors, then let's add those errors to our messages so that we can show them on the page, right? Do I want to redirect back to the index route, though? Where do I want to redirect to?
Back to the edit page.
To that edit page. So I'm going to go, I can use an F string, okay, and I can go back to movies. And then what do I want to put inside here? Movie ID edit, right? Okay. Now that I have this post variable, instead of saying request.post, 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 I can shorten that a little bit. Post. Okay. So am I done with this? Have I completed the update in my database?
Save it.
I need to save it still. Exactly. So let's go down here. We'll say movie.save. Okay. And then where do we want to go back to? Maybe like the details page? I don't know. Do you guys have a preference? All right. That's cool. return redirect. So we'll go / movies. I'll use this F string again. And then, whoops. And then inside there, we'll do movie ID. And that's all we need, right? That should take us back to the details page. Okay.
You couldn't use, instead of the F statement, use the
String concatenation.
yeah.
Yeah, you can. You can. There's one thing that I almost forgot to do. It's this. If I'm updating the movie year, what data type is post year right now? It's a string currently. So I need to actually convert it to an integer, right? So I can say int like that. Okay. And then if we go back to our urls.py, we don't yet have an update route, so we just need to create that. So I'll come down here. This is going to be our update movie. Okay. And let me just double check the, so if we view the page source on this, are we directing this to the right place? Yes, we are. So movies /ID/update. So it should work the way that we want. Let's try to make a change here. I'm going to say new description. Okay. That changed the way we expected, right? Now let's try to go back to this edit page. What if we just empty out our fields? We should get some validation errors, right? Okay. So we did in fact get our validation errors because we sort of copied that code from our add function.
But if you want to just edit, for example, just title, you still get an error or?
Oh, if I only want to change title, I can just go like this. Remember, all of this stuff is going to be whatever's currently in the form. So it'll be okay. It's going to update this and update that, but it doesn't matter because it hasn't changed. So there we go. We got new title and new description. That's it. You guys feel pretty good about this? One to many? Juan does. Juan to many.
Nice. It was necessary.
Yeah, necessary. All right, let's have some thumbs.
Yeah. Clarifications over here. Vincent felt good about it. Ashton, not so much here. All right, on ramp. No, I'm playing.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm totally kidding. Do you guys have any clarifications or things that you want to look back through in the code that we did?
I have a question about the migration when
Mhm.
you want to, after you change your model, you want to do migration again. It has two options, number 1 and number 2, and you choose one.
I chose one.
After that you chose again one for your ID.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand that, but why you chose one for
So when I chose one for my ID, that was saying that the owner's user ID that I wanted was the number 1. And I was the first user in the database. I had an ID of 1. So that's going to connect all of the movies that were currently in there to me. If I had specified 2, all of the movies that were in there would have been connected to Ashton, right? Because he had an ID of 2.
What if, we want one of them connect to you and one of them connect to Ashton?
You fancy.
Because in the platform it shows just 2 quotation marks without anything. Just
You know what I would probably do in a situation like that? I would probably specify null equals true, so that we can get away with having null in the owner ID field. And then later on, I would update those the way that I wanted it.
You wouldn't be able just to update it after assigning it to you and just you? Wouldn't you be able to do that?
You could do that too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could change it later. I mean, he brings up a good point. It's like, it's not, anything that's in our database is not permanently that way. We can update those fields. Yeah, that's true. Good call. All right, any other clarifications? There were some sideways thumbs over here, Nick.
I should rewatch the lecture again.
All right, that's fine. Cool. All the other sideways thumbs, you feel the same way, Ashton? Like, just look at it again? Jessica? All right. Cool. Let's go hiking.